In a distant galaxy, on a planet called Zorath, there existed a civilization of highly advanced beings known as the Zorathians. The Zorathians were a matriarchal society, ruled by a council of wise and powerful women. They were a species of ethereal beauty, with shimmering silver skin, luminescent eyes, and an innate ability to manipulate energy. Their society was built on principles of logic, order, and the preservation of their kind. For centuries, they had thrived in isolation, avoiding contact with other species, especially humans, whom they deemed too primitive and emotional. The Zorathian women were forbidden from forming any kind of bond with humans. The council had decreed that such interactions would lead to chaos and the dilution of their pure bloodline. The punishment for breaking this law was severe: exile to a barren moon, where the offender would live out their days in solitude. Among the Zorathians was a young woman named Lira. She was different from the others, curious and adventurous, with a heart that yearned for something more than the cold, logical existence of her people. Lira had always been fascinated by the stories of Earth and its inhabitants. She would often sneak into the archives, studying the ancient texts and holographic recordings of human history, art and culture. She was captivated by their emotions, their creativity, and their capacity for love. One day, while exploring the outskirts of Zorath, Lira stumbled upon a crashed human spacecraft. The vessel was damaged, but she could sense a faint life force within. Against her better judgment, she approached the ship and found a human male inside, barely alive. His name was Ethan, and he was a scientist who had been on a mission to explore distant galaxies when his ship had malfunctioned. Lyra's first instinct was to report the incident to the council, but something about Ethan's vulnerability stirred a deep compassion within her. She decided to help him, using her energy manipulation abilities to heal his wounds and revive him. As Ethan regained consciousness, he was awestruck by Lyra's beauty and the otherworldly aura that surrounded her. Despite the language barrier, they found a way to communicate, and a bond began to form between them. Over the following days, Lira kept Ethan hidden in a secluded cave, bringing him food and supplies. She taught him about her world, and he shared stories of Earth, its wonders and its struggles. They spent hours talking, laughing, and learning from each other. Lira found herself drawn to Ethan's warmth, his humor, and his passion for life. For the first time, she felt a connection that went beyond logic and reason, a connection that felt like love. But their happiness was short-lived. The council had detected the presence of an outsider and launched a search party to find the intruder. Lira knew that if they discovered Ethan, he would be executed, and she would face exile. Desperate to protect him, she made a daring decision. She would help Ethan repair his ship and send him back to Earth, even if it meant never seeing him again. Under the cover of night, Lira and Ethan worked tirelessly to fix the spacecraft. As they toiled, their bond grew stronger, and they shared a tender moment, confessing their feelings for each other. Lira knew that their love was forbidden, but she couldn't deny the truth in her heart. She was willing to risk everything for Ethan. Just as they were about to complete the repairs, the search party arrived, led by Lyra's childhood friend, Kayla. Kayla was a loyal enforcer of the council's laws, but she was also conflicted. She had always admired Lyra's spirit and couldn't bring herself to condemn her friend. Kayla gave Lira a choice: hand over the human and face a lesser punishment, or defy the council and face exile. Lira stood her ground, declaring her love for Ethan and her belief that their connection was worth any sacrifice. Kayla, moved by Lyra's courage, made a decision of her own. She turned a blind eye, allowing Lira and Ethan to finish the repairs and escape. As the spacecraft lifted off, Lira watched with tears in her eyes, knowing that she might never see Ethan again. Back on Zorath, The council was furious. Lira was brought before them, charged with treason and breaking the sacred law. She was given one last chance to renounce her love for the human and beg for forgiveness. But Lira refused, standing tall and proud, declaring that love was not a crime and that her heart belonged to Ethan. The council, bound by their own laws, had no choice but to sentence Lira to exile. She was taken to the barren moon, where she would live out her days in solitude. But as she gazed at the stars, Lira felt a sense of peace. She had followed her heart, and in doing so, she had found a love that transcended the boundaries of her world. Years passed, and Lira's story became a legend among the Zorathians. Some saw her as a traitor, while others admired her courage and questioned the council's rigid laws. Kayla, now a member of the council herself, began to advocate for change, urging her people to reconsider their isolation and embrace the possibility of connection with other species. Meanwhile on Earth, Ethan never forgot Lira. He dedicated his life to finding a way back to Zorath, determined to reunite with the woman who had changed his life. His efforts paid off when he discovered a way to harness the energy of a dying star, creating a portal that could transport him to Lira's world. When Ethan finally arrived on the barren moon, he found Lira waiting for him, her luminescent eyes filled with joy and disbelief. They embraced, their love as strong as ever, and vowed to never be parted again. Together they returned to Zorath, where they were greeted by a changed society. The council, influenced by Kayla and the growing sentiment among the people, had decided to lift the ban on human interaction. Lira and Ethan's love had sparked a revolution, paving the way for a new era of understanding and unity between Zorathians and humans. They became ambassadors of peace, traveling between their worlds and sharing their story, inspiring others to follow their hearts and break the rules that no longer served them. And so, the alien woman who was forbidden to love a human became a symbol of hope and change, proving that love knows no boundaries and that sometimes, breaking the rules is the only way to find true happiness.